All right, guys, welcome to ARWP, the All Real Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Eric Novak, and today we have a special guest. He is the American Wolf, Davey Richards.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you so much, Davey, for being on. We, at ARWP are huge fans, and, it's going to be an awesome experience to talk to you today.
Thank you.
All right, so tell me, before we get to what happened a couple of years ago, what happened now, tell me about the beginning. Tell me how it all started. What made you want to pursue pro wrestling?
So I was raised by my grandparents, and so I guess some families, like I live in St. Louis now. I'm not from here, but I live in St. Louis now, and every family seems to watch, Blues hockey or Cardinals baseball. And we didn't watch sports growing up. We watched wrestling. That was always something that me and my whole family, but especially me and my grandfather, really bonded around. That was our sport, things we would talk about. And not so much WWF. I don't know if we got that where I lived, but I remember very vividly watching a lot of NWA.
Mm-hmm.
So like NWA Pacific Northwest. So I got to see Roddy Piper and Billy Jack Haynes and the Dynamite Kid. We would get some of the bigger shows like Starrcade. So I got to see the Four Horsemen, and we got World Class. I got to see the Von Erichs. And I think like most kids, it really captivated me. Dynamite Kid especially, just because he made it look just so real. I mean, back then, especially to a kid, everything looked real, but he had just a overwhelming tenacity. So it was really captivating. And so that's how I got involved in it. And then I got involved in amateur wrestling at about 10 years old, because I come from a very rural farm community, and farm communities and wrestling seem to go hand in hand. And that was horrible with football. So, I feel like wrestling it's not even been a sport or a hobby. It's just been a massive part of my life since I was 10 years old. So, a long time.
That's awesome. And tell me how your first match was. Tell me how you were feeling, or what kind of match it was, if you remember.
If I can remember. My first professional wrestling match, in front of people. Because we did a lot of practice matches, as you should in wrestling school down in Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
But when I came back to the Northwest, my first, I believe me and Jack Evans had our first wrestling match in the same place, which was the Tacoma Temple Theater. And I lost, of course, in front of a sellout crowd of 20 people, 4 of which were my grandparents and my aunts and uncle. But it was, it's funny how things, because I've wrestled in like the Tokyo Dome now, and all these big venues, and you're sitting back there, you're just calm as could be. You can almost take a nap. But that first match in front of, 20 people at most, it's just all just jitters, and, that was the start. I lost to Mr. Sexy. So hopefully he's still out there being sexy.
All right, that's awesome. And let's talk about, where your big first company that you started off with, and that was Ring of Honor, if I'm not wrong. That's where it started.
I guess it depends on how you define big.
Mm-hmm.
My career really took off very early and never really slowed down. But I would say the first big promotion in my mind was Pro Wrestling Guerrilla.
WG, of course.
Because there I was in the, I'm this, punk kid from the middle of nowhere, and just buying tapes back when that used to be a thing of guys like Bryan Danielson and Samoa Joe and Low-Ki and AJ Styles. And, you fast forward a couple of years, and I'm literally in the ring sometimes in the ring, but sharing a locker room with these guys, and then it just, and how I got there was I took a Greyhound bus because I couldn't afford my own flight. So I took a Greyhound bus, like 16 hours. I can't remember. It was so long. And I think it was longer than that. And it was in a couple opening matches, and then they started wanting me to team with Super Dragon, which was, just so much credit to him because, who am I? And, and he's just, a living legend down there, and especially at that time. And, we're, we're in the ring with guys like AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels and and just these amazing talents, and I just and again it brought back that and but great learning experiences, and I think the more confidence people show having you, the more confidence you grow in yourself. If they see something, there's got to be something there. So that's really important, I think, in a young athlete's career.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, PWG, it's one of those companies where everyone looks back at and says, at that point, when you were there and everyone else was there, that is right now main eventing, big pay-per-views. It's crazy. That's where it was at. That's where all the talent came from. Tell us, what was your favorite match in PWG, if you have one? I mean, those questions are so vague, but if you had to remember maybe 2 or 3 matches that people should definitely check out. Let's say they did not know you were part. Let's say the new fans didn't know you were part of PWG or whatever. What matches should they check out?
Oh man, geez, that's a great question, man. I really don't. Well, one they have to check out because it's funny. The only time I've ever been blown up in a match, I've ever gotten tired of a match, is versus Rocky Romero when I was very first starting out. So you should check that one out for all the wrong reasons, because you see Davey Richards just die. Winning the title off Kenny Omega, that was a big deal. That was definitely a big deal. And Kenny's just so, talented and was every bit as talented then, somehow even gotten better now. That was just really cool. And boy, honestly, I got to say one of my favorite matches tagging there was versus this guy named Me and Super Dragon versus a guy named Ronan and a guy named Quicksilver. Mm-hmm. And that Quicksilver guy was really underrated, man. He was really good. And I don't know what happened to him, but and anytime I got to wrestle Scott Lost, such a good wrestler. Those were really, really big matches. Wrestling Samoa Joe, because it's, if you were to put the matches in chronological order, the times I wrestled Joe, you really see like this, guy that just, was so giving and he's very intelligent and very, very inspirational. I would say for me personally, those would be the biggest ones that I'm most proud of. I mean, but there's kind of wrestled there so long. There's so many good matches, but those to me were the ones that stand out right when you ask the question.
Awesome. That's really cool. No, yeah, I agree. PWG, you did a lot of matches, and, in the independents alone, you have, your portfolio is increasing by the minute, especially now. Yeah. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, right.
One of my favorite matches, that I saw was you and Low Key. I think that was at Ring of Honor. I think that one was a Ring of Honor match. You probably had independent matches as well with him. I don't know if you remember that one.
Yeah, I wrestled Key in California one time. It wasn't for PWG, but obviously Key's an intimidating guy, but I always liked wrestling him for the same reason I liked wrestling Samoa Joe and Bryan Danielson and those guys, because they make you nervous, and you need that to bring out the best in you. Mm-hmm. And then we did wrestle for PWG, I think a night at WrestleMania, one of those WrestleMania weekends. And that was a really good one. And then we wrestled again in Jersey, but it was a pretty small show. I remember Key really wanted me to do the shooting star press, and I was like, I really don't do that anymore. He's like, do it. All right. Yeah, I always really enjoyed working him.
Yeah, we got to talk about wrestling, on Mania weekend. How's the crowds there, especially PWG, when it's a huge event where fans coming from everywhere going to see you guys? How is the pressure when it comes to something like that?
I mean, the pressure is different in PWG, because I always felt that PWG was much more of like a collective team effort to really put on a great show. So I think the pressure came not from outdoing the other person, but from not wanting to let the team down, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Mania weekend is just, PWG crowds are so eclectic, to begin with. They're so energetic. There's nothing like wrestling in Los Angeles. There really isn't. But Mania brings a whole new element because, eyes are on you. That's where you see like all of a sudden like, agents from WWE and wrestlers from WWE and all these other, promotions are coming to check you out. And you kind of have that like, I'm gonna show these guys who the man is. So like I think everyone kind of steps up their game a little bit, and the fans obviously enjoy it, so it works out for everyone.
That's awesome. And we gotta talk about it, and we're not gonna address it for too long. But your work with TNA, some of the best work ever, some of the best storylines. How did that all come together? How did everything with Impact come together at that point?
We had we had an offer from both WWE and TNA Impact, TNA. I will call it TNA. I know I will. And we went down to the WWE training facility in Orlando, and they were very kind to us. They were very nice. I mean, I didn't have anything, but Eddie's very Boston, and which is understandable. His family's all from there, you know what I mean, and I get it. And he was not digging moving to Florida, and I'm from Washington State, so the heat just I can barely take St. Louis heat. So Florida's like, oh god, I'm gonna die. And just living down there, and that would have been a little rough for us to commit to that at that point. Mm-hmm. I was also finishing up my my paramedic school, so I really wanted to work as a paramedic in addition to wrestling. And then TNA Impact, I told you I would. They came along and they offered us, a good deal and to wrestle, and their schedule was more conducive to both of our desires at that time. So and that's how the whole thing started.
Yeah, I remember, as you brought up, I remember watching you guys at NXT. You had like 2 matches, if I'm not wrong, 1 or 2 matches in front of an actual crowd. How was it wrestling for the NXT crowd? That must have been like the first official WWE ring that you were in, was it?
Yeah. Well, actually, no. I did a couple of dark matches when I was. I did a dark match in Spokane, Washington versus the Bash. That was when I was like, green is not even the word. I didn't even break tights. I had to borrow Paul London's tights. And Arn was like, "What are you doing, kid? You ain't got tights." And I'm like, "Well, I'm not licensed in Washington State." He's like, "It's WWE. We don't care." I'm like, okay. But yeah, and then the match didn't. I mean, the match there was a miscue, a mistiming thing, which thankfully I walked away from, and our opponents felt horrible. And it's one of those things. It's no one's fault, and and it's but the crowd was awesome. Really, really fun. Really great atmosphere. Backstage and out there in the ring. But I don't think it was kind of meant to be. And I've always said, and it was never meant with any disrespect, WWE just wasn't a big goal of mine. Because I didn't grow up watching it. I didn't see Shawn Michaels versus Bret Hart, unfortunately, because Bret Hart's subsequently become one of my favorite wrestlers, but I just didn't see that growing up. I didn't see the whole the whole Hulkamania like that. Just I was enamored with the Four Horsemen. You know what I mean? So I just didn't grow up with that. So it just absolutely no disrespect, but that was just never a prime target of mine. So that's why it just it was better for both parties that we didn't work together in the future.
Yeah, and that's fully understandable. I originally became a fan from wrestling because of TNA Impact. I actually watched an Ultimate X match, and I was like, "This is wrestling? Hook me up."
Yeah.
It was never WWE that got me into wrestling, and everyone always looks at me. But there's more of us than there are of them coming in as new generations, where WWE is not the only product anymore. And speaking of that. Congratulations on the new signing with MLW. That's huge. That's really impressive.
Yeah. It's funny because I've been kind of, so I never wanted to be the guy that like was just on a tail end of his career, broken down, couldn't go anymore, and then finally I get the hint that maybe I should leave. I wanted to at least leave. To me, match quality is the most important, and when I couldn't perform. If I ever got to that level, I would have been really embarrassed. So I'm glad that I left when I was on top. But I just got to a point to where, there was a couple of reasons I'm sure we'll talk about later. But it was one of those things where, the Impact thing was great. When I came back, I can't name names, but I had a few different companies reach out, and MLW was just, I watched their product and the way we spoke and corresponded. It was just like, man, this is awesome. This is great. This is what I personally think, wrestling, it should be and is. That's not a knock to other companies. It's just, everyone has their own taste, musical taste, movie taste, wrestling taste. And, I really think I made the right decision to sign with MLW. I can't tell you how good I've been treated and how excited I am for July 10th.
We all are. We all are excited to see you debut. You know, it's gonna be an. Well, it's not. Have you wrestled for MLW before? Back when?
Never.
Never. It's an
Never.
official debut. Wow, that's
Yep,
awesome.
absolutely never.
It's a lot of pressure. What are you changing in the style? Are you changing your
Nothing.
gear? Or are you nothing? Going back as the same? Awesome.
No, I mean, I'm obviously more experienced now than I was. But my style has always been wrestling's, like I said before, it's always been a very personal thing to me. You know, it's a very emotional thing for me. So, I never went out there and was like, I'm going to be really aggressive. I'm going to be really intense. And I like a really physical style. Like I never once thought that. That's just, I'm passionate. Like when people see me being aggressive in the ring and, aggressive in my amateur wrestling days, I don't look at it like that. Like I don't want to hurt anybody.
Mm-hmm.
I'm very passionate about what I do. To me, I'm not acting. To me, that's what I'm living. That's when I'm the most alive. If that makes any sense,
No, yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So, as far as me changing anything, I don't think I can change anything. I couldn't, I'm me. I can be me with the volume cranked up, but that's yeah. But yeah, I'll get some new gear. There's definitely some Cobra Kai inspired gear coming soon. So
that's awesome. Are we gonna do trunks, tights, or you're gonna keep that a secret
until? I don't know. The things I've ordered have been trunks because personally I like trunks, but inevitably somewhere down the road, the American Bulls are coming back. You know what I mean? Like it's, and I was like, do I say the time?
You're going way ahead of our interview. I mean, that was going to be a little bit later. People are already going to be like, wait, what?
Well, it's the elephant in the room. Yeah. Well, I didn't say when, nor do I know when, but inevitably, it's got to happen, right?
Of course, especially with like the Forbidden Door, everything is, literally teams like Machine Guns are back together. You
right.
Never know what's going to happen anymore.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about wrestling, especially now, because there's so many great promotions that have visibility, and it's not just, you can't just be locked down to this one company. You can see these guys pop up anywhere, and it's what an awesome time to be a wrestling fan, especially now that the pandemic is winding down.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. So I think to answer your question in a very long-winded fashion, I think for right now trunks. But if the pants come back, I'm sure Eddie will be next to me.
Well, yeah, no, I loved, the American Wolves. I loved the tights. The fact that the way you did it, the color pattern was just awesome. You either had gray, white, blue, and red, or you had black, white, blue, and red. It was just awesome. Especially as we get to see our own colors. It means a lot and it shows a lot.
Absolutely.
All right, so one thing that, I really want to know from you is after coming back, after a few years, hearing the amount of people that are going crazy about you're booked to almost every event. I look at any independent show, you're there. People are going crazy. Yeah. You have a match against Casey Navarro coming up, if I'm not wrong, right?
Yep.
Yeah, everyone is talking about it. Everyone is just going crazy. How does it feel coming back and no one forgot? No one skipped a beat. It's literally like where it is when you left.
Yeah, wow. I was truly convinced that, because when I stepped away completely.
Yeah.
And I was pretty certain people weren't going to remember me at all, or just be like, oh yeah, that guy, because I didn't engage a lot on social media. I was very focused on other things at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I got to I got to hand it to Global Syndicate Wrestling because they're the ones that really like, hey, you should come back and we'd like to book you. And I'm like, to wrestle? I'm like, they're like, yeah, are you like physically able to? And I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm in the best shape of my life. And I'm like, yeah, why not? And there's there's always been. It's bigger to me than just returning to wrestling. It's a very I can't do anything half-assed, especially when it comes to wrestling because it's such an emotional connection for me. So it was like, all right, if we're gonna do this, if someone's gonna pay to see me, like they're gonna get their money's worth. I don't believe in half-assing things. So yeah, and I went back, and then it was like, and I was like, I'm not gonna lie.
We see it. About now, we can see it. It's literally every event. Like I'm not even joking with you. You go to the list of events, you're on the posters. It's amazing. It's unique. Something happened? Can you see me? Can you hear me?
I just take the headphones off of this.
Oh, no problem. No problem. No, it's okay. If I'm screaming in your ear, I apologize.
Yeah, but yeah, it was. It blew me away. Just the love and the support showing. I mean, yeah, you're right. It's like every day I'm getting more booking offers, and I was very wrong about people thinking that I was that I had been forgotten, because wow, I mean, just the support. I got a little emotional, to be honest with you. So it was I very much appreciate every single bit of it, and I don't plan on letting it run down.
That's awesome. I apologize. The volume is a little bit quieter now that I just took off the headphones. It's like, yeah. I'm not gonna scream in your ear, I promise.
Okay, let's go back to the headphones.
I'm sorry.
We'll figure this. No, it's good.
Okay, is that a little better?
Yeah, it's a lot better now. Is there a microphone? Sorry. Is there a microphone in the headphones?
I don't know. I don't know, but if it works, hey, it works.
Awesome.
That's no problem. It's no big deal.
All right, awesome, cool. So yeah, MLW happened. Everyone was talking about it. It was all over. And again, it's insane to see the reaction of people. What is one of the questions you've been getting the most? I mean, other than the American Wolves coming back, what is one match people want you to see? Is there anyone that you want to face? The questions are endless at this point.
Absolutely, me and Alex Hammerstone are on a collision course. There's no
champion,
question about that.
So if you're ready to take the title, 2-year champ, I think someone made.
Let's. I'm gonna do my best to make sure it doesn't make it to 3. For whatever reason, Aleister Black was released today, so I've been getting a lot about facing him again. Because he's always. I mean, I can't believe he got released. The guy's so talented.
No,
but I mean, whatever. That's none of my business. But he would be great to wrestle. I mean, there's so many guys that are just. I mean, it's mind-boggling. Like Jonathan Gresham. Like holy crap, dude! How good is that guy?
Mm-hmm.
I'm actually gonna be wrestling him, but I'll wait for them to announce it. But that's the cool thing is. Not all, but a good portion of the people I came up with and have wrestled with, they're under contract other places, so it kind of frees me up to face a lot of new people, and and I'm excited, man. I'm really excited. So a lot of new matchups, and I'm sure that there'll be some nostalgia. You know what I mean? But I'm looking forward to new matchups. Definitely.
It's okay if you don't know, because you're just coming back after years of hiatus. Is there any new names that you've heard of that you want to take on? Any new names in the wrestling independent scene?
Well, I watched. So again, when I stepped away, I completely stepped away.
Mm-hmm.
But since I've come back and they've slowly but surely started announcing my matches, like the Casey Navarro guy, I watched some stuff on him, and I'm just like, whoa, holy crap, this guy's amazing. You know what I mean? Like. So that's really exciting, and some of the other matches have not been announced yet. So I don't want to, burst anyone's bubble and they get pissed off at me. But I watched a match between Alex Hammerstone and Chris Dickinson at Global Syndicate, and I mean, man, Chris Dickinson has gotten so freaking good, and I mean, like we wrestled before, but he's not even the same guy anymore, and I mean that as a compliment. So he's definitely one I'd love to wrestle. And it is. I mean, the list can go on and on. Oh, anyone and everyone is welcome. So we'll have some fun.
What I love is I have to point out, awesome historic matches that you had. One of them that people, overlook a little bit is Kyle O'Reilly and Ring of Honor, the throw in the towel match. How was that match? How was the crowd? How was the energy? If you remember,
Yeah, I do remember that because, me, Kyle, and our really good friend Tony Casino always traveled together and trained together. And me and Kyle, I don't know if he still does, but we definitely were at that time. I'm still massively part of it. We're really into jiu-jitsu, and we just loved it, jiu-jitsu and catch wrestling. And so we had been training at a school in Louisville where we were taping that match later that evening, and we were both so beat up. We were just so beat up, and I remember like before the match, like we'll take 2 leaves, we'll get some muscle rub, we'll be all right. It just didn't work at all. Like, and then like we're gonna take it easy, which always lasts about 3 or 4 seconds to me and Kyle, and we're beating the crap out of each other, and all in good fun though. So you know, it was Kyle is you know, I don't know. I don't really like the term like a natural or like a prodigy, because I think it kind of makes some people feel like, well, if I'm not a natural or prodigy, I can't make it, which I definitely was not a natural or prodigy. I believe with hard work, anyone can be as good as they want to be.
Mm-hmm.
But if there ever was a prodigy, I think it would be Kyle. You know, and that guy's went through a lot to get his, you know, a lot of people don't know, you know, he came here from Canada with nothing. I mean, just living on a floor. We had like a 1-bedroom apartment in St. Louis. There was like 5 guys in there, and you know, driving 16 hours to shows. And I mean, Kyle earned it, and I'm really happy for him.
Yeah, it's amazing. And one thing I want to bring up is, you know, NXT. I'm sure as you come back, you're looking for the wrestlers, seeing who's wrestling where. You know, how do you feel about NXT's roster? I'm sure that roster looks very familiar to you with almost every name.
Yeah, it does, and it's awesome. You know, it's cool.
Your microphone stopped. Talk? No, I can't hear you.
Sorry, hold on. One moment.
You're fine.
Okay, now can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Technology, sorry.
Trust me, I know. I'm the worst at it. I'm terrible with technology.
But it's so yeah. So what was my train of thought? Oh, the roster. It's cool because all the guys you come up with, it's like, were we doing it right? Because WWE always seems so, you know, a light year away, you know. But it's like, oh, we were doing it right the whole time, because now they want what we created. So it's really cool, man. It's really cool to see all those guys, and like, you know, it's weird for me because you know, people up there, you know, in Connecticut are like, oh, these guys are so talented. It's like, yeah, duh. You didn't know that? And like, so I'm happy for all of them, you know, and they deserve every bit of it.
Not to make any headlines or anything, you are signed with MLW, but let's say there's more time, you know, that you have on your hands in the near future. If NXT offers you anything, would you consider that as an option now that things have changed and, you know, the roster are full of familiar faces? Yeah.
Yeah, you know how the wrestling business works. You know, you never say never.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, I mean, I would be just as happy looking at that as I would be being an MLW for the next 5 years. You know, it's right now my biggest thing is just I want to get back, and I want to just have the best wrestling matches. You know,
that won't be too hard
possible. Yeah. You know, so like where I do that right now isn't as important as just the act of actually doing it. You know, I want those, you know, great matches again. And hey, come here. So remember when you were born, Dad was a fireman? Jeez, did you know Dad was a wrestler? You say hi.
Hello. I like your
he's getting ready
gi.
for karate. Yeah, he's getting ready for karate. You know, playing your
Father
dad.
like son.
Sorry, I still gotta be a dad.
Of course, no, I'm not saying anything.
You.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I would be. You know, I want to really put an emphasis that I'm, you know, right now I'm fully 100% committed to MLW.
Of course.
You know, I mean, and they go, so I may wrestle there a year, and they'd be like, oh, get rid of that Davey Richards guy, get him out of here. But you know, if my dealings with them so far are any indication, I think I'm going to be there a long time. So I'm really happy to be there. And but again, you never say never. You know what I mean? As long as I'm producing the best matches, that's all I care about.
Yeah, and you're going there at the best time because they just signed a deal with Vice, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be awesome. Now you know people are gonna start watching on television. It's gonna be awesome. Back
you know,
on TV.
it's good. But I was like, you know, so some of my first matches back, I mean, that's pretty soon, you know, is going to be on TV. So I left on TV. Now I come right back to TV. It's like, oh, you guys are going right to TV, huh? You want to do a couple small shows? Let me get warmed up. And it's like, all right, let's go all in. Let's do it.
So the biggest question on everyone's mind is, again, contracts have changed since, you know, and now anyone can wrestle anywhere as long as they're committed to the contracts that they signed for. So
Yeah.
New Japan Strong is a prospect. Impact is a prospect. AEW. Have you watched any of the product lately since coming back to see where you might do your best?
Yeah, I all the above. Yes, I mean, I've always been a huge fan of New Japan. I mean, how can you not?
Of course, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about New Japan a little bit.
Watch. I mean, AEW. You know, it's weird because they came a little bit after I left, and you know, I was working with a guy, and he was like, "Man, did you watch wrestling last night?" And I thought he was talking about WWE, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I haven't seen it in a while." And he's like, "Man, you know," but he was talking about AEW, and he was like, "Yeah, man, this Omega guy," and I'm like,
"Wait,
Omega?" I was like, "What did he look like?" He's like a blonde, kind of curly hair, and I was like, "Was his name Kenny?" And like Kenny and me are good friends. Super, you know, how amazing is that guy? Again, another one of those guys that finally, you know, breaks out in the States, and you're like, duh, you didn't know he's amazing the whole time. And so I saw AEW, and I was like, wow, this is really good. This is really good. And and then just following Eddie, you know, kept up with Impact, and you know, it just, yeah, man, and New Japan stuff, and I mean, it seems. It's gotta be hard being a fan. It really does, because it's like overload of so much. You know what I mean? Like there's so much good stuff. You know what I mean? It's like it's gotta be like 1988 in heavy metal. Like there's like all these good bands. You're like, this is overload. What? You know? So it's cool for me, but as a fan, it's like, okay, I got $100.
Where do I
go? Yeah. So, but yeah, it's
no,
great stuff all
you're
around.
not wrong. It's very, very difficult, but you know, at the same time, you're getting everything and more of what you're asking for. You know, wrestling is everywhere, and everything is possible. Literally, you wouldn't think things would be possible. Now they are. Someone's holding 3 companies, you know, different titles. You know, and then you beat the man who's holding the 3 titles. And that's gonna have to come back somewhere in the future. You're gonna have to promote that. You know, you're gonna have to do a little bit of work on social media to get a rematch.
I gotta start playing those political strings.
How are you with that? Are you excited about that, or are you not so much gonna play the political strings? You're not gonna play political.
No, that's not wrestling. That's not I would drive myself crazy for anything like that. That's no. If I have not earned it, undoubtedly I don't want it. So no, it poisons the water. You know what I mean? Especially for me, because like I said, wrestling is such a emotional, you know, thing for me, and so, you know, just connected to my childhood. To go and, you know, if I'd have been a kid and I'd have known like political stuff, you know what I mean, it'd been like, I don't want to. You know, I feel the same way as an adult. Yeah, I don't. So, you know, I'm never been a political guy. Got no interest in it. I'd rather get in the ring and earn it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. I didn't want to bring no disrespect in asking that question, and just
of course not.
So much is happening now where people believe that if they tweet something, you know, that can stir a whole thing, and it's amazing how much you've missed and how much things are going on. You know.
Yeah, and you know, social media has been something I've admittedly. You know, the amount of tweets I put out with typos in them, even if I try to be political, I just make an ass out of myself because my thumbs are too big. You know, and,
I had that same problem, and it's terrible.
Oh my god, yeah, it's brutal. You know, so that would be a nightmare for me. I'd be one of those guys with those big phones, you know, and but yeah, I mean, a lot of stuff kind of went down with that while I was gone that I heard about, and I mean. That sucks. That sucks. So I'm glad I missed that part at least.
That's awesome. And let's talk about New Japan a little bit. You know, that's got to be a realization to wrestle. You know, Prince Devitt. You know, Tokyo Dome must have been insane. Tell me about all those experiences. Tell me about New Japan, because that's a whole different, you know, atmosphere. It's a whole different crowd. How was that?
Yeah, I mean, Japan's a different world. You know, and it was tough because, so like now, not as much now, but a couple years prior, like New Japan and Ring of Honor had a working relationship, you know, so they would coordinate around people's schedules. What people don't understand is when I was Ring of Honor World Champion and I was wrestling, you know, IWGP Junior Tag Champion, there was no working relationship. So I would literally be in Japan, fly home, but it's not until 420. Sorry, I'm still dadding. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
So there was no working relationship then. So I would literally, like when I defended my title, Ring of Honor title versus El Generico, as it used to be called. Yeah, babe. And then I would literally go to Japan, wrestle for a week, fly home, do the match in Chicago, fly back to Japan, and I was so beat up and I was so burnt out, and it was very tough then because New Japan was like, well, you gotta commit to us, and Ring of Honor, you gotta commit to us, and I was literally caught in the middle, and like no one was doing anything wrong. It was just they're trying to build their own brand, and but there was no working relationship, and I was beat up. But now it's that whole company's changed. It's awesome now.
Yeah, no, it's amazing with how many wrestlers can do and go places, And one thing I want to talk about before we get to why you left, what's been happening throughout the years, it's how do you feel about crowds now? Like the fans must be bursting with energy to finally see you again. What can you say to the people that are waiting just to meet you and see you again and reconnect?
Yeah, I guarantee as excited as you are, I'm even more excited. So, I did a signing 2 weeks ago, or roughly 2 weeks. Yeah, I think it was around 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, pardon me. Sorry, May 15th. And it was just, it was awesome, man. Just seeing everyone and talking to everyone and everyone's just happy, because we're going to get out and do things again. And, I really miss that part where it's a good vibe. You know what I mean? I'd see someone with the band I like. I'm like, oh, you're in that band? We'd BS for a while. It's cool, man. I dig it.
That's awesome. And let's talk about, why you left. Always as a wrestler, there's another life, there's another, journey to get through. You went for school, right? You went back to school. That's one of the reasons.
So when I left, it was kind of threefold. One, like I said, I've been wrestling full time since I was 10. I never took a break. So I definitely had some nagging injuries that I had to address. So that was one reason. The next reason was school. Like I want to go to medical school, and to do that, you need to go all in. So, and I'm, I've done that. And then third was, I became a dad, and, I didn't, we don't need to get into it, but my dad was not part of my life. And you kind of, as you get older, you kind of see how that affects you. And that was no way I was going to let that happen. So it tore me up, to miss certain things, and I was like, okay. So it was those three things lined up, and I was fortunate enough that I had a really good, job as a firefighter and a paramedic. So I just stepped away, I stepped away kind of from everything for a while and just kind of, which I think is good, I kind of take a sabbatical. Some people are kind of forced into it because they get hurt, or they fall out of favor with a wrestling company. TNA was great. It was completely amicable. I wasn't, too beat up, nothing more than would be expected. And just kind of left to go do other things that made me happy. And now those things are solidified and everything like that. And I, resigned from the fire department. Now I'm fully charged, fully motivated for wrestling, which is, kind of inevitably going to happen anyways, because that's who I am as a wrestler.
Yeah, we got to tell you that there's a lot of respect to, go be a firefighter, go be a paramedic, you're saving lives. And that's a perspective. Like, we can watch you be a heel, we can watch you be a face, but there's just something there that fans will always look at you differently now. And that's a great thing, That's an honorable thing. And,
Thank you.
Just thank you for everything that you've done and giving up wrestling, which is never easy, but coming back to it even stronger, even better, that's awesome.
Yeah, I get a lot of people saying like, well, I thought you retired. And it's like, well, I never said I was retired. Yeah. I never once said like, I'm always going to be involved in wrestling one way or another. Just because that's always who I've been. I am a wrestler. I don't play one. I am one. But yeah, I mean, it was something I really wanted to do for a long time, was be a firefighter. And, somehow I thought it would be easier to not fall down in a ring, but run into burning buildings when everyone's running out. Somehow in my head that made sense. But, I think at the end of the day, I'm just like an adrenaline junkie, like I'm going to go, jump around in the ring and, you get stomped and you get beat up. And now I'm going to go and run into burning buildings. I'm going to fly in a helicopter. Now I'm going to go back and get beat up in the ring. It's like, well, this is Apparently, I have a death wish, so oh well.
What can you take away? What is the lessons that you've learned, throughout, your hiatus, to come back? Is there anything that, mentally different from when you left to how you come back?
Thankfulness, definitely thankfulness. I'm not there. I didn't I didn't cherish, the gift that I had in pro wrestling, but one, because it happened so fast. And, I think too, I can see now that wrestling was a drug for me, because my childhood was pretty messed up. My mom was in prison for drugs, and my dad wasn't around. And then both my grandparents, like the night I won my first title for TRW wrestling in Abbotsford, British Columbia, I was so excited to come home and show my grandfather that I'd won a title. As a little plastic title, but I won a title. and he died. He died on the way home. And then when I was in Japan, when I was living in Japan for pro wrestling Noah, my grandmother died. So, and I didn't fall into drinking or drugs or any of that stuff, but to numb the pain of Wes's life, I lived in Davey's. I lived as Davey, because, when people are chanting your name and you're the best wrestler in the world, you don't have to, feel that. I mean, there's plenty of times I would have, matches that people remember, like my 5-star matches, and, go home and just, or back to the hotel and just kind of, cry yourself to sleep, because you're hurting inside. And I think I had to, that's why my style is always very physical. It's always very violent. It's always very passionate. I look back now, and I was, kind of taking it too far, but it was kind of a drug, to kind of get through that. And, but so I had to step away to actually, deal with that and face that, and now I want to return to wrestling, for not because I need to, because I want to, so that's why I say wrestling's emotional for me. It's very, very deep. It's not a job first, it's not a career first. It's family first, because that's my last connection to my family. So, I kind of went off on a tangent there, but I hope I made a point.
No, look, this, as much as wrestling is, it's real. All real wrestling podcasts. We're talking about the real, things in wrestling. So I'm thankful that you shared that with me. I had no knowledge, no idea. These are just things that people will realize. Like, I had no idea. And I appreciate that.
Yeah. And that was things, that I didn't want to talk about before. But now I feel more comfortable talking about, because I have faced them. And it was. Yeah, I mean, I faced it and put that behind me, and now it's time to move on and move forward and get back in it.
Of course. I have a question, and this is no disrespect whatsoever. I really don't want to offend you in any way. Would you ever consider putting that on Dark Side of the Ring? Getting the fans to figure you out personally. We only see one perspective. We only see the Davey Richards perspective. We never see the other story. Would you ever consider that as an option in the future, not anywhere close to now?
Yeah. Now that I put it behind me, because at the time it was just one thing after another. I mean, my thing with my parents, and my grandmother died, my grandfather died, and my grandmother died. Then I went home, and the house I grew up in got burnt to the ground. So it was like just one thing after another. It took some time to heal. And but yeah, now I'm absolutely, I'm not thankful for it by any means, but I see the positive in it, and to be that could be used to inspire somebody else. So no matter what you come from, I'm not the biggest guy in the world, but I made a big guy business. I'm nowhere near the epicenter of wrestling. I'm from this small town no one's ever heard of, and I saw a lot of tragedy, but it's all, if it's here and it's here, then you can do it. And I think I would like to show the story, now, because that could, there's somewhere out there, there's another me, They're like, man, I could do that. So yeah, I'd be comfortable with it now.
Yeah, you represent hope and people that would have the same circumstances as you did, and we're gonna move away, but I appreciate you talking to me about that. That
yeah, of course,
means a lot. So let's talk about some of your matches. One is with Leo Rush at CCW. I can't even imagine how that must have felt for you that night, winning the title. Just a great night. How was that?
Yeah.
How would you describe it?
It was great. He's you know, he's I mean, I say he's talented. It's just so oversaid, but he's truly talented, and like that crowd, and we knew, I got to give credit where credit due. Sammy Callahan's the one who put that whole thing together because he has such a good vision in mind for the business, and and Leo, I had never, you can just tell when you talk to someone about wrestling, like if they get it or not, and right away you're like, this is so easy, and then you go out and he's telling me all these things he's gonna do, and I'm like, all right, man, you sure you're going to be able to pull this off? And then you're out there, it's like, holy crap, you really can. And not only pull it off, but like smooth. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, I'm glad you can do it, man. So,
how was it winning the belt? How was it, the crowd, just that energy? It wasn't your first, title win, but still, being at a company like CCW, which is so known, how was that feeling?
It was awesome. It was really cool, and it was cool to shock people, and like. It was some people were so pissed, which I understand because I wasn't part of their brethren. They were so pissed off, and that made it in wrestling terms that made it that much sweeter. It's like which makes it good because when I get beat, that person's the man, so it worked out better for everyone.
Yeah, another match, you and Tommaso Ciampa. It was a hug fest, a great match, great energy. How was that?
So whenever there's a match with me and there's comedy involved, you can bet that one of us is injured. Like you can it's almost the only match I can vividly remember where there was no comedy, but I think everyone was injured was Full Metal Mayhem. But other than that, anytime there's comedy in my matches, 9 times out of 10, someone's hurt.
So that's how you guys like hold the crowd? You guys just do some comedy routines?
Yeah, because at the end of the day, my job, I can't speak for anyone else. My job is to give people their money's worth. At the end of the day, where they love me or they hate me, as long as they go like, man, that guy's awesome, or man, I'm so glad that guy got his ass kicked. That's our job at the end of the day. And my style is very physical, but I'm a human like everyone else. We get hurt. Wrestling's a tough business. And we get hurt. And so we just can't. It's kind of like, I don't know if you're a fan of rock music, but Dave Grohl broke his leg and came out in a wheelchair and finished the set. It's like the same thing. You can't, just because you get hurt, you can't go out there and be like, well, sorry, people, I know you paid full price, but we're going to give you half of it. We're going to give you half the entertainment. Yeah, that's completely unacceptable, at least for me anyways. So you got to, I don't want to say dig into your bag of tricks, but you got to find other ways to give people their money's worth. And that's definitely, what we were doing there.
That's awesome. Is there any match that you really enjoyed back in the independent scene? Like one, I know there's so many, but if there was one that everyone should definitely check out, only because I don't have a favorite. I don't have like one match where I'm like, oh, so amazing.
Yeah.
Like just.
I love that match with Leo Rush. I really.
Yeah, that one was amazing. I'm not even exaggerating. That match was phenomenal. I loved it.
Yeah, that one was so good. God, man, there are so many good matches, man, that I was lucky. I mean, me and Michael Elgin, that was a great one. I would say me and Eddie, but I got knocked out so early, I don't remember it. Thank God Eddie's so good. I loved honestly, man, I loved our tag matches with, what's a great match was me and Eddie versus the Hardys in the Manhattan Center. That was badass.
I just watched you and Eddie versus Santana and Ortiz before they were Santana and Ortiz. I don't know if you remember that. It was a great match.
Yeah, those guys are awesome. Yeah, whatever happened to those guys?
AEW.
Are they? See,
yeah.
That is so freaking awesome. See, I had no idea. See, dude, good for those guys. And good for AEW. Boy, talk about a good pickup for them. I mean, yeah, those guys. Another one of those teams where when you start talking, you're like, wow, these guys really get it. And they're like, we're going to do this. And I'm like, okay. And then they pull off flawlessly. It's like, we're good. So, good for them.
Yeah, and the guy who owns it, Tony Khan, he's very flexible. Talent, it's not like he's restricting them from doing, other shows or anything. They have to do as much as they can, and people could just come and go. Like, I don't know if you heard, but Leo was just at AEW, made his debut.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's anything is possible now with the amount of, fandom and energy and so many promoters. It's awesome to see it.
So good, man. What a great time. I definitely, I was talking to my buddy, And he's like, "Did you kind of plan this? You know, because like you were gone for like 3 years, but for one of the years, the world basically stopped, and now you're coming back to perfect time. It's like, I swear to God, I did not plan this out."
I do want to talk about that though. COVID hit everyone very differently. You know,
Yeah.
Was COVID a faster reason to get back into wrestling? And I'm not saying it as like a did you need the money type thing. It was the fact that when you saw that people couldn't wrestle, many wrestlers, probably your friends, probably were messaging you saying, "Hey, I can't do this right now. No fans, no events, no nothing." Did that give you a realization that like, hey, this isn't forever, and I gotta get on this now, like at this time, or was this planned?
Well, no, I mean, because me and Angelina Love have a son, and she's she stayed in the wrestling business after I left, and so I saw, obviously me and her talk every day, and I saw how it affected her because she was in the wrestling business, and but for like me personally, oh my God, I was busier than ever because I was on the front lines of that pandemic. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can honestly say wrestling was probably the last thing on my mind during that time because I was on the front lines. One, it was my own safety, and then two, I just saw so many sick people, And we're having to learn to do all these new things, like using ventilators and all these kind of things, and like breathing machines. And the third was like, man, is my son gonna get this? Like what's So I was ungodly busy during that whole pandemic. So it's and then I signed up to give people their vaccination, so I was completely busy with that. And so no, I mean, I can't really name one point where I was like, I'm gonna go back to wrestling. People say it happened organically. This never a true word was spoken as pertaining to this. It came completely organically.
That's amazing. I do have one more question about pandemic, only because I'm interested.
Yeah.
Someone who worked in the medical field. Do you believe that masks protect people? Do you believe because there's so much politics now that everyone argues? What do you believe is the safest way to go around? Wear masks or not wear masks? What was your perspective on it?
So the unfortunate part of being a medical student is you have to read through hours and hours and hours of studies, and the studies come down to, like most everything, some studies show its efficacy and some shows that it's not. Me personally, it's a mask. If it's going to protect one person, it's a mask. Just wear the mask. You know what I mean? It's, do I believe people have a right to, kick people off planes or something? Like there's some, but there's always extreme stories.
No, you're not wrong. Yeah.
But I think people should. I always believe that people should have a choice, and their choices should be respected within reason, of course. But me personally, if a mask is going to save one life, because I love what I do now part time, but I see a lot of people die. I do. I see a lot of people's last breaths. You know what I mean? And you can save one person from that. Then wear the mask, man. It's not a big deal. But I'm very weird about talking about anything political or anything in wrestling.
I don't like politics in general. It's not my thing.
I think wrestling to me is like music. It should be the escape from all that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And whatever you believe. Listen, at the end of the day, whatever you believe, as long as you're not hurting anyone else, hey, it's free. It's free country, man. Do whatever you want.
The only reason why I brought it up is because you are, in the medical field. You have seen a lot. I just thought this is a question that I should have asked. Just one of those things where I never had anyone who did the profession like that, like you do, and sees things like you do. Because that's the argument here. People are like, well, you don't know what they're seeing. Your idea isn't, what that's actually the reality of what's going on in the hospitals, everywhere else. You have that one, perspective. But we'll get away from that. Let's talk about goals. There's so many goals now. What are some titles you want? What are some, places you want to wrestle? What are the goals of 2021 for you now?
First and foremost, to be the best, like without a doubt. I heard that thing, and I can't remember who said it, but someone will come online and correct me. but like wrestling belts are just props, and I adamantly disagree. They can be used as props, but what I think they should be used for is to recognize someone's hard work and their ability.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's all about being the best wrestler in the ring, and I believe that if I do that, then the titles will come. I mean, do I want to be, MLW, middleweight and world champion? Without a doubt, absolutely. There's no question about it. But would I want that for some political reason or some prop? Absolutely not. I want to earn every bit of it, because the guys who are holding those belts right now earned every bit of it. Wrestling, I love wrestling in Japan. I love Great Britain. I love it. I would move over there in a minute if I could. I love England. And just getting around the United States, I was back in, the East Coast, for a Global Syndicate, and I was like, God, there's nothing like an East Coast wrestling fan, man. Like, they're a little more tough and a little more gritty than the LA fans, but they're both just so passionate. It's freaking awesome. Like LA fans, West Coast are more laid back, kind of, goofy, or, East Coast fans, if you're good, they'll love you. And if you're bad, man, they will let you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's wide open for me because everything's new again, so it's, but definitely to be the best wrestler in the ring. That's always been the goal.
That's awesome. And for crowd-wise, what do you think of New York crowds? Like, I'm from New York, so I'm curious what your perspective is on New York crowds, because there's so many opinions on it.
Oh, I love them because, if you had, in my opinion, if you had to choose a home base for wrestling, it's got to be New York, man. I mean, the point I'm making is, not in Madison Square Garden, notwithstanding, but I truly believe if you went to like Vince McMahon was like, Vince, you have one show left to run, one show, where you're going to run it, it'd be New York, And so I think New York has always kind of been like the epicenter. So I dig it. I love it.
Well, you're going to be in New York soon, aren't you? Wrestling Universe store. You have a signing for that, if I'm not wrong.
I got them, and I got some stuff upstate. I got a couple shows, and then, but I think New York is still under some restrictions.
But for signings, like, I think you're only there scheduled for a signing. I don't think there's any.
Yeah, just a signing now. It's just a signing. Hopefully, when things open up, come back up there and wrestle. That'd be awesome.
That'd be great. Yeah. Have you wrestled for House of Glory? I feel like you might have. I feel like House of Glory.
No, I don't think so. But I remember talking with them. But I think that was right about the time when I stepped away. Yeah, I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I've actually wrestled for them just yet.
Yeah, have you ever wrestled for a WrestlePro? Any of those? There's like two. There's one in Queens. There's one in Jersey.
Oh man, I think so. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
I've been head to head a lot. Hey, you know what? I will. How about that?
Exactly. You're gonna wrestle everywhere. We're gonna see it. So aside from the champions of MLW, who are a few names that you've been examining by watching MLW? If you've done research by watching MLW, is there any wrestlers that you want to wrestle that are signed there and are committed there?
Yeah, definitely Alex Hammerstone. I think that'd be awesome. Jacob Fatu is like, holy crap! How does that guy move like that? Myron Reed, and it's everyone. I'm trying to give you like really, really good answers, but honestly, truthfully, it's like, dude, just put me in the flipping ring. I just want to wrestle. You know what I mean? Like, so it was so hard watching that Global Syndicate show. Cause I'm like, I just want to get in the ring. So at this point, man, I want to be in that ring, and whoever is across from me is largely irrelevant at this point.
Awesome. All right. And we got to talk about wrestling style. You said you didn't change anything. How about finisher, signature? Is there anything that's going to be surprising to any fans?
Yeah.
Oh, there is.
Yep.
So which one?
Yep.
Finisher? You don't want to tell. Okay. I mean, you don't have to.
Yeah. I don't want to, there's got to be some, suspense,
of course.
Yeah, there's definitely, the cool part about stepping away is you can look at things very pragmatically and not emotionally. And I can see things that I used to do. It's like, yeah, you know what? That doesn't really fit what I do. I'm not a pretty wrestler. I'm a violent wrestler, and I know what I like about wrestling, and so I've incorporated some things, and I took out some things, and I just think I understand wrestling a lot more now because, again, I can look at it more pragmatically than completely emotionally. So yeah, there's definitely new things on the work. I'll put it to you that way, without a doubt.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can't wait to see it. And speaking of movesets, ever your style of wrestling, it's not easy to try to copy. It's one of the most hard styles. It's strong style. It's technical. It's everything and more. How does it feel getting in the ring and trying not to actually hurt someone? It's hard to say because wrestling, you don't actually want to hurt someone, but the way you go at it, it's very, very high and dangerous, and not as like you're trying to hurt them, but the way
I understand.
do. Yeah, what's the idea of it?
I heard this podcast with Davey Vega and Matt Fitchett. They're a tag team called the Besties, and they're awesome. And they were like, yeah, like everything about wrestling, they're like, you just have to withstand the storm. And like, again, but that's always been my style. I've never once sat back and like, I'm going to be really aggressive and I'm going to be really intense. I've never once, thought that. So, but for, I was lucky that I was trained by a very, adamant professional in Paul Orndorff. And, the things I train with, like my strikes, like I still do like a lot of kickboxing, and like my grappling, I do a lot of, jiu-jitsu, and I have an amateur wrestling background. And, I think those things are important because I know how to do things, and I can be, safe with them, because I don't, if someone's giving you your body and you hurt them, you're just, either you're careless, you made a mistake, or you're an asshole. And I don't want to be, I don't want to be that any of those three. So there's a lot of training, because I was getting booking offers, to come back and have matches right away in May. Right when I announced I was coming back for a signing, I was getting, and I was like, I really want to wait until June, because I want to, really get back. And I've been in the ring like 3 or 4 nights a week, weight training, doing jiu-jitsu, doing kickboxing. It's like, I take it seriously, train twice a day, every day. So like, because my stuff, there's nothing really fake about what I do. I mean, like, I don't pull anything. I just hit you in the right spots,
No, yeah, we don't use that word when it comes to wrestling. That's not a word.
Oh my God. I amateur wrestled from 10 to 22. No, from 10 to 21. And, at a high level, collegiate level. And I have gotten beat up more from pro wrestling than anything else combined. So I don't know who said that stuff was fake. I mean, how great would it be if it really was fake? Because I could just,
no
be
injuries.
on the top rope. Oh man,
No
I'm stunt double, and the guy comes in and does it. Oh my God, that'd be fantastic. Or like they hand you a prop table or a prop ladder. That'd be fantastic. It's like, but no kids. It's or man. So when I went to wrestling school, I was like, oh, this will be like a trampoline. This will be great. And Orndorff's like, take a bump. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, fall your back. I'm like, okay. And I was like, oh God.
What did I sign up for?
It's not a trampoline.
Of course, no. It's a mat.
Oh man, oh man. Well, I started training for my comeback. I was in there. I was like, I just taking the buckles, hitting the ropes. My girl's like, what's wrong with you? I was like, hit the ropes. She's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, you go hit him and you tell him. It's a steel cable, man. It's a rough sport, man. It is, but man, it's the best.
Have you tried any high flying moves? Are you gonna try to add some more stuff in the arsenal or not? Staying on the ground?
Yeah. There's definitely more stuff in the arsenal. I really like technical wrestling.
Of course, the most entertaining.
And I love to watch high flyers. I love to watch them. I love to do matches with them. That's never really been my style. And two, I don't do it as well as they could. But like, I think you just naturally are drawn to things that invigorate you. And I really like technical wrestling and, like the kind of Japanese style and more like a catch style. I really, really like that. I've always just been enamored by it. So that's always going to be my, bread and butter.
Yeah, and I want to address another thing. Impact has also changed throughout the years. TNA Impact throughout the years, and their rosters, very different now, very technical. Also, you got the BTI match coming up. I believe that's tomorrow between Josh Alexander and TJP in a 1-hour Ironman match. I don't know if you even heard of that.
Yeah, I did. I sure did.
How do you feel about that? I feel that Impact is changing up, less of what they had before, and they're changing up their style. X
Yeah.
Division's getting a lot more credit.
Now, I don't know what's going on in WWE. Okay, so disclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
But from the stuff I have seen between AEW, Impact, MLW, and even NWA, it's so awesome to see people just focusing on the wrestling again for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, and giving those guys an hour, man. I mean, I remember when Jim Cornette wanted me and Tyler, or we did it, or Seth Rollins now.
He talked about that. If you're going to talk about Jim Cornette, I just want to address this. I don't know if you listened to it. He had a small thing to say. It was like an 8-minute thing recently on your return. He had a lot of nice things to say. He was like, this is going to be good. This kid's going to do great. He remembered you back in your Ring of Honor days with Kyle O'Reilly, with Tyler Black.
Yeah.
You know.
I was not easy to work with then. You know, I definitely was. You know, I openly admit that I was. I was a wreck, man. That was when a lot of that stuff I just talked about earlier was going down.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, people have their opinions on Cornette, and that's fine. But people have their opinions on me. Jim was always very, very good to me. Very good to me. And that guy just wants to see wrestling succeed. Like, he loves it on a level that I can't even grasp, and I don't think anybody can. And I really, you know, I'm flattered that he said nice things about me, because I was kind of an asshole. I really was, and that sucks, man. And you know, but
you learn.
You get ass now. I can redeem myself.
Yeah, no, and not even that. You, as you get older, you learn. You know, that's just how humans are. You know.
Well, yeah, and you know, and facing the past and putting that to rest, and also becoming a father. You know, that's a huge thing. Just
biggest accomplishment.
What a blessing.
Biggest accomplishment.
Oh man, yeah, you know, and you know, I'm very lucky that, you know, Angelina Love is his mom, because what a great mom. But I tell you what, man, you know, and she can hear this, and she'll agree with me that if that kid ever gets in some kind of trouble, I'm not sicking me on him. I'm sicking her, because she will whoop their ass. She is so protective of her baby. But yeah, I mean, like, we had this great kid. You know, she's a phenomenal mother. And it changes your perspective on things, and it allows you to kind of step back and be like, yeah, I was just kind of being an asshole. You know, so, but you know, we live and we learn, right?
You got to show your kid the match between Alicia and Eddie. Why did you hate that match?
Yeah, well, because I hated it, because I was so that was the mother of my child. Yeah. You know, so it was, you know, and Angelina, I mean, like, so talented, so professional. Mm-hmm. But you know, the wrestling got a little too real, if that makes any sense. Me and Eddie were actually talking about this, and like, you don't want to. You could go out there and I could tag with anyone and be with anyone, and it's business. But when you see someone that, like, you know, that's a mother of your son, you're like, oh, okay, be careful. You know what I mean? Like, and obviously Eddie and Alyssa are just true professionals. But it's hard to watch. You're like, oh, you sure you want to keep doing this wrestling thing? You know, because you just don't want to see him get hurt. You know, not that she doesn't know what she's doing, obviously, but it was just kind of like. There's one part in the match where we get hit and we have the garbage can over our head, and you kind of see me give her a little pinch that's just, hey, are you okay? Mm-hmm. And I still want, you know, I want to
it's completely understandable. You know? Yeah, no, completely.
Yeah. But the match and the angle was awesome. Such a good story.
Yeah, it's good to at least say you had, you know, one of those stories, you know, like if you can only do it once, you know, let it be an awesome story like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
Let it be a storytelling type of match. You know, before we start getting closer to the end, because you know, you do have places to be, places to go, and I don't want to hold you too long. You know, I want to talk about crowds. What is the largest crowd you ever worked? What is the smallest crowd you ever worked? Because I feel like that's always awesome to think about the smallest to the largest, and then what's the strangest place you ever wrestled? I'm sure you went somewhere. I've heard so many stories, and I would love to hear.
Oh yeah. Biggest would have to be, man. Well, I mean, I got to wrestle in the big three. You know, as far as Japan's concerned, I wrestled in the Tokyo Dome. Mm-hmm. I wrestled in Budokan, and I wrestled in Sumo Hall. It would have to be Tokyo Dome. But it would be the biggest. The smallest, well, nobody. Without a doubt, nobody. I've wrestled so many times in front of nobody that. You know, but those end up being some of the funnest matches, to be honest with you, because
you know, because you're not going to go out there and you're going to goof off, you know what I mean? And, I wrestle in like those fairs where like people are just walking by, and so one time I'm wrestling this fair. It's in Abbotsford, British Columbia. This fair, I think it's called the Vex. Don't quote me on that, but anyways, I'm wrestling, and people are just walking by. There's no seats. There's nothing. People just walking by, and like it's just this like kind of lady from a trailer park just walking by. So she goes, "You suck." Just keeps walking. I was like, "Hey,
thanks for being a fan."
Yeah, right. Like, hey, you. Yeah, she's gone. The weirdest place. Oh man,
you gotta think about this one. I've heard so many answers, and I'm sure you've had one of those places where you're like, I almost died. I almost died in there.
I'm wrestling in Louisiana, West Monroe, Louisiana, and this is when I think I was in Ring of Honor, but I hadn't like blew up yet, right? But so this guy, he's like, yeah, we'll fly into Shreveport, Louisiana, and then my dad, he's got a personal helicopter will pick you up, and I'm like, so right away I'm thinking I'm gonna be like Flair at Chase Stadium. I'm like, dude, I'm gonna get chopped into this. Is gonna be so badass, man. Oh my god, this is gonna be so cool. And so I land in Shreveport. This private helicopter comes, picks me up, takes me to the show. Maybe 10 people there, maybe. And I find out this kid just got a really rich dad, and it's outdoor, and the mosquitoes there. It's brutal. And
wow, what an awesome birthday party.
yeah. Oh man. And then I wrestled in Los Angeles once for this promotion called Adrenaline Unleashed, and this guy rented out a rodeo stadium. Those things are big. So he's like, okay, so we're gonna do this for your interest. We're gonna have pyro, and I'm like, holy shit, this is gonna be bad. So I'm thinking this is like, gonna be like Starcade. I'm like, this is gonna be so awesome. Again, like 10 people there, man, like 10 people, and that poor guy, he's like, I spent my life savings on this. Like,
I hope you give him a good show.
Yeah, and they wanted me to blade too. And I'm like, smart. Yeah, I see I'm smart. Oh man, so me and Eddie got flown into Mexico one time, and boy, this whole trip was just. So they put us in this hotel right when we got into Mexico City, and it was one of those like love hotels. So remember Dumb and Dumber when they had a heart-shaped spa? Yeah. We had one of those.
Oh, okay.
But yeah. So we're there like we're like, this is like Dumb and Dumber, and so we left the window open, and I didn't know the mosquitoes were so bad in Mexico. We both woke up, our faces were swollen from all the mosquito bites.
All right, so we are winding down again. I know you got places to be, and I know we have an hour. We're almost reaching an hour and a half. So let's get to the end already. Let's talk about two things. I want to end it with MLW since that's your biggest project. But before that, all the questions everyone wants to know: the American Wolves. Have you spoken to Eddie? Like, we're not going to talk about Impact. We're not going to talk about if you talk to Impact. We're just going to talk about Eddie. Have you talked to him about it? Have you guys? Yeah. And that's.
Oh yeah, we it'll happen.
That's awesome. And my question is, have you examined any tag teams that you want to face as you guys come back? I mean, there's a lot with Impact. There's not any other companies. I know you're not familiar because you're just getting back into it, but is there anyone that you guys are like, we would have an insane match with them?
Well, no, because again, I stepped away from everything, and since I've been back, it's been all single stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say that me and Eddie always prided ourselves on being able to have good matches with anyone, whether big guys, small guys, high flyers, mat wrestlers, or even hardcore matches, to be honest. So we always prided ourselves on just being able to go with anyone. But I mean, I did watch like the Dangerous Tekker stuff in New Japan. That would be freaking awesome.
Oh, people can be talking about that one now.
Yeah, so that would be, and I've always been, I'm a big fan of those guys. So that would be freaking awesome. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's hard to sit here and be still and talk about this stuff because think about all the possibilities. Like I'm just imagine like going the singles run and somewhere. Me and Eddie team up and do that. I mean, just I'm so blessed, man. I'm so blessed to be able to be back, and I couldn't be more thankful.
Yeah, my bad. There was some kind of like static. So yeah, and you know, when we talk about you are a singles competitor now, you did tag team wrestling. What do you prefer most? Is it having someone's back and having their have your back, or is it you on your own? What's the best style for you? All the hard
I really
questions.
honestly, yeah, it's difficult to, because right away I can think about like, well, I like this about singles wrestling. I don't like this about tag wrestling. Well, I like this about tag wrestling. I don't like this about singles. So, I mean, if someone put a gun to my head and was like, you have to choose, I would choose tag wrestling. Only with Eddie, because,
Only
or Rocky. Rocky Romero or Eddie,
Why not both?
But not, yeah, that would be interesting, actually.
New Japan Strong. Let's book it.
Yeah. Actually, that would be a bad idea because those guys are so much better than me. I'd be like, no, now I really look bad. But but man, I mean, it's like 61-59, like 61%.
Yeah, no,
that 59% singles. Like, I truly just love wrestling. Like, I love just, like getting in the ring and just, having an emotional, something that people can invest emotionally in, and just using all the training and, because it's such a physical thing. Like, I just, since I was 10 years old, first got into a mat to now, I love wrestling on such a deep level that I'm so thankful I get to be part of it still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very difficult to balance both being singles, being tag team performer. It's a lot. No one understands how hard it is to do tag team wrestling when it's like not only watching yourself, watching your partner's back. It's a whole process.
God,
Impact's really been doing a lot with Summerversary. They've been hyping up a lot. Do you believe that you guys will originate back in Impact, or do you think you guys will do it somewhere else? You have no idea, right?
Yeah, I have no idea. Like I said, I know Eddie is very happy in Impact. They treat him very well. Mm-hmm. I'm extremely happy in MLW. They treat me really well. So, I mean, like, I truly don't know. I mean, honestly, if I had my choice, it'd be Japan because that's what we love so much.
That would be awesome. That would be great to see.
Yeah. But, and that's a great thing is he can go there and be super, super happy. And I can go to MLW and be super, super happy and everybody wins, and, but I do think we would be a perfect fit for MLW because they're so sports oriented, and that's just really like. And I'm not saying Impact isn't, but I'm saying like that's a really big deal for MLW, and we're very, aggressive and athletic, wrestlers. So I think it would be really, really good there. I really do. So I would love to. That almost feel like a dream. It's like, you're really gonna pay me to do this? Like, hey, a guy can dream, right? So,
well, what's amazing? Ross and Marshall Von Erich are definitely holding the tag team name in MLW, and I would love to see the American Wolves in MLW. That's something I never even thought of, and people are now gonna people are not gonna think about that now.
If I plant the seeds, yeah, we wrestled them in, I don't think it was Dallas, but it was right outside Dallas. And Kevin Von Erich was there.
Their home turf. Their home turf, in a way.
What's that?
Their home turf, in a way. Like that's.
Yeah. Oh man. So and I remember Kevin Von Erich was like, "Hey man, Von Erichs are kind of like celebrities, so people are gonna get mad at you." And so we're like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And like we're walking the ring, and it's like people are fucking throwing batteries at us, man. Like it's like, yeah, those guys are. It was a great match. God, that was fun. If we could do that again in MLW, sign me up.
And Rocky Romero, has some kind of agreement there where he's at MLW. I don't know if you've seen some of his matches. He was a part of some stuff. So maybe we'll see something. Maybe we'll actually witness some history in MLW.
Yeah, a little no remorse score.
And I definitely want to see a 6-man tag where you're teaming with the Von Erichs. That would be something too, You guys.
Oh my God, that would be. But I'm wearing a cowboy hat if they let
me. Are you gonna wear shoes? That's the main thing. Are you gonna wear boots, shoes, or are you gonna go barefoot?
Oh man, I could do that. Those guys. Matt Riddle does that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Von Erich. Is it Ross or which one is it?
I think it's Kevin.
Kevin, and then.
No. Marshall. I think it's Marshall.
Marshall.
Yeah,
Marshall, and then does Tom Waller wear shoes or he go barefoot?
Yeah. He wears shorts. He wears jeans, shorts, and shoes. Yeah, like boots.
Dude, he's so cool.
Yeah, he's
man. I don't know. I couldn't do that barefoot stuff, man, because I know my luck. I'd step on a tack or something. I know it, so I couldn't do that.
You know, you brought it up, and we definitely got to talk about. He's holding the New Japan Strong World Title right now, and he's a full-signed member to MLW. So that just shows what MLW has in a contract with New Japan.
What I think personally, the rest of this year and next year is going to be just absolutely amazing because there's so much great talent. Companies are more flexible, and I think people just want to get out and do stuff again. So I think it's just always perfect ingredients for the perfect storm, and I'm just it is like I planned it perfectly to come back at this time. But man, I'm so glad to be back.
That's awesome. And let's end it with one huge thing. What are you most excited for with MLW, and why did you sign with them? Out of all the contracts you've had, out of everything, the hardest question is, what made you sign with them? Because they're the ones that are very overlooked, and it's a few people who do watch them love them because their talent is amazing. For example, myself, I went to the opera. I think it's opera. I went to the Opera Cup last year. I don't know if you watched that, but that was like one of their biggest things, and I loved it. I love MLW. What made you decide to go with them?
Just how professional they were, and how they envisioned their product was just very in line with what I enjoy about pro wrestling, and then I watched their product and I was like, wow, this is really, really good. And not just the in-ring stuff obviously is amazing, but like their production's really good. They're very professional, and they're very it's like a family environment there. So it was definitely I wouldn't say it was difficult, but they made it pretty easy to sign with them. So yeah, I'm very happy there.
That's awesome. All right. Now we'll end it there. Anyone else who, has any more questions, we'll find out when MLW goes, on their big events, and we'll see what's next with you. So
absolutely. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Before you leave, I do have to just tell people where they can find you, how they can support you, buy your merch. I see you're rocking a Grasps shirt.
Yes. Grasps is a great clothing company out of the United Kingdom. It's run by a guy named Gary Ward. Cannot recommend their stuff enough. If you go on my Twitter, which is @RichardsWesley, because I couldn't think of anything cooler, there's links on there, and I'm always wearing the stuff. Or look for Gary Ward. Great stuff. And man, buy a T-shirt. There's a really cool kind of half USA, half Britain thing, and there's definitely a Cobra Kai ripoff because I'm obsessed with it. And come out to the shows. July 10th, MLW. ECW Arena in Philly. It's going to be just awesome. And on top of that, support wrestling. Whatever you like, whatever you choose, wherever your favorites are, support wrestling because that supports me, and it supports a lot of other people. So we'll do our best to give you your money's worth. So thank you for having me.
Also, do you have a pro wrestling tees just to address that? Any?
I don't think so. Of course, they're going to email like, "Hey, you do? Why didn't you say anything?" But I'm like, I don't think so. But just Graps right now, and then I have a shirt through MLW. Really cool American Wolf shirt.
Oh yeah, I saw it. Yeah, all right. I thought you would wear it. I wanted to promote it a little bit.
So MLW, I have a Davey Richards American Wolf shirt, and then I have 2 shirts with Graps. And there's Wrestle Merch Central. If you Google that, it'll take you to my online store, and they have some really, really cool stuff they're doing there. So that's how people can, support the American Wolf. And @RichardsWesley on Twitter, and just on Instagram, I'm Davey_Richards83. So hit me up and talk to me.
I'll put all the information in the bio below for anyone who needs to check it out. All the links will be there. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We'll see you guys next time.
Thanks so much.